Welcome to a new episode of Awesome Video Game Quotes. This episode's part of my fighting game month. I decided to do a fighting game month because I like fighting games. It's also the main reason why the Awesome Video Game Quotes page on Facebook is nothing but fighting game quotes. What? You haven't liked that page? Why don't you go down in the description below and click on that button? The description should look like this.
If it's fighting game month, shouldn't you be better dressed for the occasion?
That's right, Bethos. I should. Are you okay? Good, because this next episode could be fatal. Fury special. Yeah, that was really bad. Anyway, so I thought I'd dress as my favorite character, Terry Bogard. Hey, come on!
Let me start by saying this isn't like the last couple of episodes where I tried to find deeper meaning in the quotes I've talked about. Most fighting games in the mid-90s were notorious for having the worst quotes ever, with quotes like, "Go home and be a family man," "I am the best, who next?" and, nope, not doing that one, nope, not saying it out loud. Fatal Fury Special was no exception, and again, like every other fighting game of the time, there isn't much story either. All you need to know is that as far as the plot goes is this: Geese Howard, the bad guy, killed Jeff Bogard, the adoptive father of Andy and Terry Bogard. The two brothers separately train to get stronger. They fight some other people along the way and eventually defeat Geese. That's it. Also, it's the third game in the Fatal Fury series. Why is it not called Fatal Fury 3? I don't know. Why is there at least 11 versions of Street Fighter 2? Why was Guilty Gear XX called Guilty Gear X2 in the American version? Why did the King of Fighters go from a year system from 1994 to 2003 and then suddenly become the King of Fighters 11, 12, and 13? Okay, well, can you at least explain why this Fatal Fury is special?
I sure can, Mythos.
The reason why it was special was the fact that it was a dream match scenario that brought characters from the first and second Fatal Fury games and made them playable. They also made the previously unplayable boss characters playable, a la Street Fighter II Champion Edition. Well, I can tell you right now, the game was indeed special. If by special you mean the gameplay is perfectly fine, but the dialogue is by far some of the worst I've ever seen in a video game. Now we have our standard fighting game win quotes like Jubei's, "For an old geezer, I'm one tough dude." A little silly, but that's okay. How about Mai's, "Babe, you're about to sing soprano, pal." That's fine too. Is it just me, or does she look like she has devil horns? In fact, she looks very pale in this picture. Why is that? Well, those are okay until we get to Raiden. No, not that Raiden. Or that one. Yes, this one. And his line reads, "Taste the blows of this reborn titan. Ah-cha-cha." The first part of this is perfectly fine, since he is a reborn titan. In the last game, he was the wrestler known as Big Bear. The second part, though, is that supposed to be a laugh? Why didn't they just put a If I was to say Raiden's line, it's supposed to be like this. Ah-cha-cha. Okay, I'll let that go. But how about you, Joe? What do you have to say? You guys sure stick out like a gorilla at a lingerie show. What? Who would ever say that? And why would I be able to Google it? Master Tongue? Your fists of evil are about to meet my steel wall of niceness. Are you getting senile, old man? Krauser? Blood is thick, but syrup's thicker. Think about it. What is there to think about? What does this have to do with fighting? Mercury is thicker than syrup. Think about that! And it just goes on and on like this. Mind you, this is the Neo Geo version, but the other versions of the game weren't much better. This is the SNES, this is the Game Gear, and this is by far the worst version, the Sega CD version. There is literally no capitalization whatsoever. I guess they couldn't even afford to uppercase even the first letter of each sentence. There must have been a different localization team than the previous game, because even Fatal Fury 2 didn't have all these weird quotes. But the character I wanted to focus on the most in this game is, guess who?
Hey, come on, come on!
Terry by far has the worst dialogue in the game, with lines like, "Ooh, you make me so angry, you big silly." What the... Did Terry just get really flamboyant all of a sudden? How did you get from this to this? What about when you defeat your master, Tung Fu Ru? The pleasure was mine, Master Tan. Terry, did you suddenly forget your master's name, or are you just being a cocky jerk? Okay, let's see what happens after you beat the man who killed your father. Don't come round here no more, do-wah. Are you singing Hit the Road, Jack? Like the Ray Charles? That's what you say to the man that killed your father? The man that's fueled your entire reason for living? You're gonna sing a song about a woman kicking out her useless boyfriend? That's the best thing you could think of to say for the occasion? Well, I'm sure your brother Andy would be so proud to see you say that. Just what does he have to say?
What the... Why would...
Did the developers and/or translators just assume, hey, they're brothers, so they must clearly think alike. Let's just both have them say the same thing. Okay. How about the quote when Terry has to fight his clone? You have guts. Too bad I'm gonna tear them out. Wow, that's an extremely violent thing to say. Is the clone version like some sort of evil robot clone who has to kill Terry and replace him while everyone else is none the wiser, despite the fact that he's wearing black clothes now? Jeez. Well, this is a pretty violent thing to say, but the SNES version makes even less sense. Even if I say this in the right tone, like, you've got guts, too bad, it still doesn't make any sense. You have to have the, I'm gonna tear them out. Otherwise, you have an incomplete thought. Even the Game Gear game has the same issue. Also, for some reason, they forgot to palette swap his colors for the evil clone in this version.
Well, there certainly couldn't be anything worse than that, right?
Wubba wubba, I'm in the pink today, boy.
What the... Are you... No. 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 No.
Let me just say this again. Wubba wubba, I'm in the pink today, boy. Yeah, it still doesn't make any sense. This is the worst line of the entire game, and is the sole reason why I wanted to do this episode to begin with. At first glance, it's the stupidest thing I've ever read, but thanks to my Supersensei abilities, I was able to take it apart and analyze it. Let's start with wubba wubba. Well, I looked it up in the dictionary. There are no results. Let's try Google. That's just a bunch of dog toys. Well, this isn't a credible source, but let's try Urban Dictionary. Let's see, an exchange of cutesy affection, a colorful special boy who has bird-like attributes, what you do to the monster in the mirror, used in place of the word what, popular in Cincy, Ohio. None of these seem to work very well, with the exception of replacing the word what. But I did find another site called chacha.com that came up with two of these potential meanings. For some reason, the boy-bird one came up again, and more importantly, the wubba replaces what definition is here. Now normally I would just go with that, but I needed to have some more confirmation. So I called some people in Cincinnati, Ohio to confirm the use of the word wubba. Here's one of the conversations I had.
Public Library, this is Christy. How can I help you?
Hi, I'm doing research for a script I'm writing, and I just had a quick question for you.
Okay.
This is gonna sound weird. Do people in Cincinnati, Ohio sometimes use the word wubba to replace the word what? Have you heard about that? No? You've never heard that? Okay.
I've never heard that before until you just said it.
Okay, no, I was looking some stuff up, and online there's something that says that, so I'm actually calling people over there and seeing if that's true or not.
Yeah. No, I've never heard it. I guess it's not. It doesn't mean it's. Some people don't say it, but I've never heard anyone ever say that.
Okay, just wanted to see. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. No problem.
Okay.
Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
I did call a couple other places too, but they pretty much played out the same way. No one knew what I was talking about, so I can't really use that definition. Now my major problem is, the word wubba literally has no meaning whatsoever. I think the translators thought Americans liked using fake words like irregardless or redonkulous. If we pretend that wubba can substitute what, then at least I can switch the words so it'll come off sounding like what, which would make more sense than to use the word wubba. Now for the next part, I'm in the pink today. First of all, I'm 27 years old, and when I read this, I giggled. If you don't know why I giggled, then that means you're a mature person who doesn't have time to watch a guy talking about video games with a Beanie Baby ostrich. Secondly, what? What does that mean? Well, actually, it's a pretty old term that even Shakespeare used in his writing. The term itself is used to describe someone who is in the absolute best possible physical condition. For example, I just got back from the doctor and he said I have a clean bill of health. Looks like I'm in the pink. Going back to what Terry said, his line is starting to make more sense. And finally, we have boy. He's excited, and that's what people say when they're excited, right? The term yeah boy was popularized by the musician William Jonathan Drayton Jr., aka Flavor Flav, as he would shout it to hype up the audience. I guess Terry was a fan of Public Enemy and liked to say boy at the end of his sentences to put more emphasis on them. So with all that knowledge put together, and the pretend knowledge of wubba, let's translate what Terry said into English. What? I'm in good health today, boy! Basically, Terry just started and ended his sentence in the same way. It sounds very silly still, so I shall take what he said in the original Japanese version and translate it. Well, I don't know the exact way to pronounce this in Japanese, because I don't know my kanji very well. But my Japanese friend told me it roughly translates to, I'm sorry, but I'm kind of too good today. Now the translation makes a little more sense. Or at least my translation of the translation makes sense. The messed up part about this is that the Japanese thought Americans talk like this in 1993. We get stereotyped just as much as everyone else does. I mean, look at what Terry is saying. These are clearly some references to hip-hop, which is an American thing. Not only that, but he's even designed with colors red, white, and blue. Despite the fact that his shirt and hat are supposed to be white in this picture, but even his character sprite is wearing blue jeans, and jeans themselves are also associated with American culture. Even him saying,
Hey, come on!
And
Okay!
showing how loud and boastful we are. His long blonde hair, the stars on his back and his Chuck Taylors, everything about Terry screams American. Terry is truly the epitome of what the Japanese thought the American people were like. It's really funny to see how we were generalized at the time. Sadly enough though, I think the Japanese generalize us in a different way now, with Rufus from Street Fighter 4 and Bob from Tekken 6. Well, at least they still have blonde hair. There's another interesting thing I can bring up right now. I think the developers didn't really do as much research as they could have. There was a huge or intentional mistake put into the game. When you're about to fight another character, it shows you the location in the world where you'll be fighting. Terry's stage location is around Arizona area if you go by the position of the flag. But in the background of the stage, you can plainly see Mount Rushmore. Mount Rushmore, last time I checked, is located in South Dakota, which is all the way over here on the map. In the game, it seems to be carved into the Grand Canyon. I guess the developers thought they could put two national landmarks together and hoped no one would notice. With all of the other crazy quotes in this game, I wouldn't put it past them. But how did Wubba Wubba I'm in the pink today boy get into this game? My guess is that the localization team was having a little fun with the lines. "I'm in the pink" is a very specific English term, so I can't chalk it up to bad translation. As far as wubba goes, like I said before, maybe they thought Americans like to make up words like faux shizzle, selfie, and ATM machine. Well, at least in the next Fatal Fury game, I'm sure they did a much better job translating, right? What? What in the name of the great ice cream salesman are you doing here? Well, that was a fun episode. If you haven't already, go ahead and like my Facebook page, Video Game Quotes, where there are new quotes posted every day. And go ahead and watch some of my other videos while you're at it. And as always, thanks for watching.